Hello, hello. Welcome to the Prosperous Empath. I'm Catherine Wood, and I'm back, friends. We took the last 2 weeks off from the podcast for the first time, and we were also closed in the business. I took some vacation with my family, and if you've been here for a while, you know that every August I go up to New Brunswick, Canada with my family. We have a family home that's been in my mother's family for generations, right on the St. John River, and it's super rustic, outdoor bathroom. Growing up, I used to bathe in the river. It's pretty rustic. And I love it. And I also just love going unplugged. It's so restorative to be completely off of email and social media. And I don't know about you, but the longer I've been in business, the harder it's become to not cheat and check my latest social media post, or if I got that email to legitimately not check, as Wi-Fi has become more accessible worldwide. But I was in integrity with my intention. I did not check email or social media, not once, for the past week. And it was awesome and so inspiring. And honestly, it feels really in line with what I want to talk about today, because today officially we open the doors for registration for my newest program offering. It's called the Emerge Mastermind. It's a 6-month mastermind for early entrepreneurs who are in their first 1 to 3 years of business, who are looking for coaching support to grow their business, to find their CEO footing, to connect with a group of values-aligned conscious creators, and really grow your confidence in your early years of business, which I get it, y'all. It's hard. And as we've been designing this program really intentionally for the past several months, something I've noticed is that so much of what we decided to include in the program, how we decided to design the program, is a reflection of what I wish I had when I was first starting out in business back in 2014. So in today's solo episode, I want to share with you 5 of the things that I wish I had when I started in business. And you can imagine that all of these things are included in our Emerge Mastermind. But regardless of whether or not you're interested in the mastermind, I think you'll find this episode useful, because at some point you're likely going to hire a coach, or consider your next business investment, or consider a container or community that you want to invest in and belong to. And I invite you to consider whether these things are present and which of these feels important for you to consider as you make your next business investment. And I'm also going to leave you with a couple of questions to try on for size and consider for yourself as you invest in the next support structure for your business. So let's jump in. Hello and welcome to the Prosperous Empath podcast, designed especially for empaths and highly sensitive entrepreneurs just like you who are committed to achieving holistic success. I'm your host, Catherine Wood, Master Certified Coach, author, mastermind leader, and founder of Unbounded Potential, a boutique coaching firm for empathic entrepreneurs. I'm on a mission to bring empathy back into the world of business. Each episode will focus on achieving more by doing less through leveraging empath-friendly leadership practices, boundaries, rituals, and systems, all the while continuing to care deeply about ourselves, others, and the world around us. If you are committed to joyful living and running a conscious business, but amassing wealth while doing so, proving that you can have both in a society that tells you you can't, then you are in the right place. Join me here each week to find out how. Be sure to subscribe and leave a review so you won't miss an episode. Plus, you'll find all the show notes and helpful resources over at unbounded-potential.com. So the first thing I wish I had when I started in my business was I wish that I had a values-aligned small group to be a part of. So much of your first referrals and collaborations and lessons learned and ideas and acknowledgement are going to come from the colleagues that you support yourself with. And if you can set yourself up well by ensuring that those are values aligned, conscious creators that you surround yourself with, you're going to be set up so much easier for success. When I first started my business, I joined this networking organization that was an amazing community for me. So many of those relationships I'm still in touch with. There's still some of my greatest referral partners and cheerleaders, and some of them came to our wedding last October. Like, they're just huge key relationships in my business journey. But one of the things that I also realized in hindsight is that when we're first starting out in business, we don't know who our people are and who are not. We often go off of who people refer us to or who people recommend. And I remember for me, like when I first started out in this networking organization, some of the people, they just confidently sold their services. They were really great at marketing themselves. And I was really gung-ho to invest forward and take risks and set myself up for success. And a lot of those early people that I hired to support my business were not good fits because they did not share the same values as I did. So as you're thinking about which communities you want to belong to, which masterminds you want to join, which communities you want to be part of, I invite you to consider, are your values expressed in the language, the testimonials, and the energy of the community? Okay, the second thing I wish I'd had when I started my business was a community. So empaths thrive in community. If you're here, then I know you would value immensely from belonging to a community where you fit in and where you can experience belonging and where you feel comfortable being vulnerable. So consider that so many of the vetted referrals and collaboration partners you'll receive will come from belonging to a community. And what I really appreciate about our communities are that we are a community of empath entrepreneurs. Empaths are naturally gifted at giving to one another, at collaborating, referring, celebrating, sharing about their peers' offerings and programs. And we are about reciprocity in really modeling, learning how to give, as well as opening yourself up to receive and learning how to ask for what you need and ask for what would support your business. So I've noticed over the years that there's often this transactional nature that gets created in the transformational communities that I've belonged to, that I've invested in. There's this transactional nature sometimes with the leaders or the facilitators where while you're in their community, there's relationship, there's support, there's celebration, there's, friendship. But when you choose to leave that community or your investment ends, that the relationships often just dry up. And that is absolutely not the case with prosperous empaths. Like, I have noticed time and time again over the years that amongst empaths, that there is just this natural, ongoing relationship that gets formed and created, and not in a codependent way, like in a very generous but boundaried way. And so something I really invite you to consider in the communities that you choose to invest in is, can you envision yourself experiencing belonging here? And would you feel comfortable being vulnerable? It's often to the degree that we're willing to be vulnerable that opens up the degree to which we allow ourselves to be supported. Okay, the third point. It is super important for ambitious empaths to have built-in space to implement and take action. So much of the early entrepreneurial journey is about overcoming resistance and that internal sense of fear or risk to actually do the courageous thing, to ask for the business, to set the high level pricing, to do the thing that you've been resisting. And when there is a built-in structure in the container, in the program, in the group offering to actually take action, it not only will support you in procrastinating less, in overcoming that resistance sooner, but it will also support you in taking action from a more grounded place. Because when we're taking action and our parasympathetic nervous systems are triggered, we're often in that fight or flight place. We're so much more fearful and insecure and reactive, and that shines through when we're doing the courageous action in our business. But when there's a built-in place and space to take action and to implement, we can really ensure that our parasympathetic nervous systems are activated. So whether we've scheduled that time into our calendar or we have an ongoing call on the calendar to take action and implement, we can do so much more often just from a more grounded and embodied place. And naturally, we're so much more confident from that place. So I don't remember when I made this switch in my private practice because it's been so long. But when I made the switch to coach the first 3 weeks of every month and then take the 4th week off from client calls with clients to really implement and integrate what we've been learning, it made such a difference, not only for me, but also for my clients in taking action. And not surprisingly, so many of my clients have implemented similar call structures in their own businesses because it supports them to have that difference in when they're in the ideation phase, when they're visioning, when they're designing their next offerings versus when they are implementing, whatever that looks like for you. So in the mastermind, that has looked like us implementing a bi-weekly co-working call, a power call for the participants to really support one another in doing the thing that they've been resisting. Highly recommend. This has been something that I have incorporated in my own business with peers in a regular fashion because we're so much more accountable to other people besides ourselves. So a question for you considering, is there a built-in space or room to actually take action on what you're learning is how clear are you on what you'd like to use this container to help you bring to life and create in your business? The 4th thing I wish that I'd had when I started my business was leaders who walked their own walk. I cannot speak highly enough to how important this is because as an empath entrepreneur, it is so important for you to follow leaders who embody and model what it is that they are telling you to do. And I remember when I first started out in business, I was being trained by 2 leaders who embodied so much masculine energy. Now, I have a very healthy sense of masculine energy, but I, in my early years, really needed to balance that out with more of the feminine. I really needed to learn how to open myself up to receive, to flow more, to surrender, to embrace my creative side. And I was following 2 leaders who talked about this, but I wasn't seeing it modeled in how they ran their own businesses. And I also didn't have the sense that everything that they were challenging me to do, that they had done themselves. And that is really hard when you're trying to overcome resistance and take the uncomfortable, brave actions to move forward in your business. If you can't trust that the leaders and coaches and facilitators who are encouraging you to step outside of your comfort zone are doing the very same thing, it can be that much harder to take action. And I'm so mindful of this because one of the things that has been really important for so many of my clients over the past decade in business is in learning how to rest and to disentangle themselves from hustle culture. And in my early years in business, I belonged to this community that was super successful. They had a really wonderful business model, but they talked a lot about well-being and modeling work-life balance. And they also had in their business model this quarterly vacation week off where the whole company closed down and all of the leaders were encouraged to disconnect, to really take a week off. But what I noticed through my time being part of this community was that there was really this ingrained hustle culture just embedded in the culture of the business. So while they talked about taking a quarterly week off, it was almost ostracized if you actually did. So for me, it is so important that leaders who are talking about their values and what they stand for and what they're teaching, that they are actually embodying the very thing that they're teaching. So as you're thinking about the leaders that you want to work with, the coaches and facilitators and program leaders that you want to invest in, ask yourself the question, are you present to their authenticity and humanity? And last but not least, the fifth thing that I wish I had, that I wish that I had been instilled in when I was first starting out in business, was permission to do things my own way. Now, I've been in the online space for the past decade, and I am so done with this hype marketing tactics that tell you to hire this coach, to sign up for this program, just to do things this way, to follow their model, to all you need is this 5-step framework to follow, right? Like that just does not work for us as ambitious empaths. We need to do things a little differently as empaths. And something I am super mindful about with empaths is that we're often really good at dimming our own intuitive voice and trusting the voices of our peers, which are often louder, more assertive, more extroverted, and that just does not work for ambitious empaths. So I really want you to consider that you as an ambitious empath are naturally intuitive. You're also naturally gifted at supporting and contributing to others. So you likely do not need someone else's framework or system or methodology. You need the space and permission to connect with your own intuition and be held accountable to do what you know that there already is for you to do, to support clients in the way that you are already naturally gifted at doing. So much of our success as ambitious empaths is dependent on elevating our self-belief, on honing our intuitive muscles, and truly creating that sense of safety first in our own bodies in order to be able to feel comfortable in dreaming bigger and then developing that courage and authenticity to own our message, to own our voice, to take a stand for it, and to allow ourselves to be supported and held accountable along the way. I hope that you've found today's episode useful. We created Emerge with all of these lessons in mind. Truly, the path of empathic entrepreneurship, it is so not just about business. It's a way of life. It's a conscious choice to create, to impact, and to live authentically. And so much of how we get supported as empathic entrepreneurs has to model and embody those values and those distinct ways in which we operate our businesses. So if you're at all interested in learning about Emerge, if you want to get on a call to chat more about it, I would love to connect with you about it. You can reach out to me via email. You can send me a DM over Instagram or however you'd like. The link to the program is in the show notes. And if you would like to have an in-person experience of what it's like to be in community with us, you can always join us for our monthly non-networking power hour, where you'll have a real sense of what it's like to get supported by us. We have one more power hour remaining before we launch the program at the end of September. So the next non-networking power hour is on September 18th. That's a Monday at 12 noon Eastern time, and we will include the link to sign up in the show notes. But for now, I would just love for you to take away from this conversation clarity on which of these elements are important for you to consider if you're new in business, or you're looking to hire your first coach, or potentially your next support structure. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for listening today to this episode of the Prosperous Empath Podcast with me, Catherine Wood. Make sure you subscribe and leave a review so you don't miss an episode, and so more empaths just like you and me can find the show. As a thank you, each month, one lucky reviewer will receive a 60-minute coaching session with a member of our Unbounded Potential team. You can find all the show notes and bonus resources over at unbounded-potential.com. Thank you so much for listening and locking arms with me to bring empathy and prosperity back into the world of business.